Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry I cannot be with you in person. This looks like a very nice tank you're in. I would like to give you a bit the EU policy perspective on underground thermal energy storage. It's really at the intersection of many of the initiatives that we're working on at the moment. And my first call to all of you would be after this meeting to please, if you have not done so, contribute to our ongoing consultations on two of our strategies, which are currently open online on the EU Electrification Action Plan and on the EU Heating and Cooling Strategy. So, as you know, we're in the process of the transformation of our energy system. It's driven by a number of factors. The energy security, of course, the reduction of our fossil imports, the reduction of our dependency on unreliable energy suppliers, and promotion of our domestic sources instead. Decarbonization, with ambitious climate objectives in which energy has a central place, and we're currently discussing our next climate targets for 2040. We know that there will be a huge pressure on the energy system to decarbonize fast and decarbonize first. And the energy crisis, because we are making progress in reducing our fossil fuel imports. We have accelerated the deployment of renewable energy sources. We are improving the efficiency of our energy system, but energy prices for consumers remain high. They are driven by continued dependence on fossil fuels, by price fluctuations, by inefficiencies in the energy system, by a lack of integration between electricity, heating and cooling, insufficient grid. And thermal energy storage brings answers to all of that and reduces the costs for all of that, helps us really maximize the share of clean energy in our system. So we are really seeing it as one of the key families of technologies to achieve that. Earlier this year, the European Commission published an action plan on affordable energy to seek to address these challenges and accelerate the delivery of our energy framework. So we have legislation in place that pushes for that transformation from various angles, from the promotion of renewable energy to energy efficiency, where very relevant elements for thermal storage are in the Energy Efficiency Directive, which promotes the decarbonization of district heating and cooling systems through the definition of efficient district heating system, which requires an increasing share of renewable energy and waste heat. We have elements on our market design framework, so on electricity markets, which promotes non-fossil flexibility sources and require member states to ensure that sources of flexibility in the electricity system are duly rewarded. We have requirements on the cooperation between district heating operators and electricity system operators to make sure that the planning, the investment of electricity infrastructure takes into account the services that district heating systems can provide to the electricity system to reduce the stress on the electricity system. And again, that's directly it's directly relevant to thermal storage. That's really about displacing the demand to the times when electricity prices are lower. But this is a major implementation challenge. So we're working with our member states to try to put in place the right national frameworks, but also at local level with cities. The 1,000 largest municipalities in the European Union also have to put in place local heating and cooling plans, and really connecting those levels, the local, national, and European level, to achieve these objectives is what we are working on at the moment. So we're really seeking to accelerate the delivery of these objectives, and it's complex from an administrative, from a policy point of view, and then it's also a massive investment challenge. So how do we make those investments happen? That's also what we're working on at the moment. So we're preparing a new wave of initiatives, not legislative, but to support the implementation of the framework we're in place. By the end of this year, we will present the so-called GRIDS package to really work on the upgrade of our energy networks. We know that that's one big bottleneck if we want to deliver these decarbonization objectives, and storage is a major part of that, to make those networks more flexible and to make them able to deliver in a cost-efficient way the required services, and integrate those massive volumes of renewable energy, of variable energy that we will have in the system. There will be very relevant aspects on storage, for instance, on the acceleration of permitting. Our system at the moment, our legal framework has strong elements on the accelerated permitting of renewable energy development, but we're working now, in addition, on shortening the administrative procedures, simplifying the procedures, introducing one-stop shops for storage projects as well. We are also working on a clean energy investment strategy, which will also come by the end of the year. And there, the idea is to look at the specific market failures, the investment needs, the types of business models and financial barriers faced by the various investments in the energy system, and see what kind of new instruments could be developed, or what kind of instruments that are already in place could be expanded to new technologies. So we've already worked with specific sectors as part of this strategy. Some parts on electricity, but also we are also looking at district heating, for instance, and elements such as the de-risking of investments are also central to that strategy. And then the two topics on which I'm working myself together with my colleagues, two new initiatives that will be published in the first quarter of next year. One is an action plan on electrification, so how to accelerate the conversion of energy use to direct electricity use in transport, in heating and cooling, in industry. And of course, it's not only about using electricity, using heat pumps, but it's also about how to make that possible in an economic way. How to make the grid resilient and flexible enough. How to bring up all the storage solutions to make them, again, as I said, reduce the stress on the need for new capacity and grids. How to develop new business models and make sure that the prices reflect those flexibility services and reward those operators at the interface of supply and demand. So really, that's one element where storage will be essential. The other strategy is the heating and cooling strategy that will be presented at the same time. Heating and cooling represents about half of all the energy we use. And it has been harder to tackle by policymakers. It's complex, it's fragmented. So we will look at the deployment of new renewable energy sources, using the waste heat sources wherever they are available, and at the demand side, helping the sectors, again, households, industry, district heating and cooling networks to switch to more sustainable sources of heating. And again, yes, of course, thermal storage, obviously central to that strategy. We will look at the various ranges of temperatures. The overall concept is looking at an energy efficient system. So not only looking appliance by appliance, use per use, but looking at how the transition of that whole system can be done in the most efficient way. And we're trying to identify the specific barriers, the specific gaps that could be addressed either by non-legislative actions at the moment. It could be initiatives to support the implementation of those local heating and cooling plans that I mentioned before. It could be working with our financial partners to work on de-risking instruments for geothermal energy and for underground storage technologies, or work on improving the permitting of undersurface installations. We working on the promotion of combined solutions, either combining different renewable energy sources, but of course thermal renewable energy with thermal storage to improve the efficiency. So these are all the aspects that we have on our radar at the moment. But of course, as I mentioned before, we know that there's a very broad spectrum of challenges to the acceleration of the deployment of the technology, even when, like in many of the underground thermal storage technologies, they are already there and available and competitive compared to other solutions. So we know that there are all these issues between supply and demand related to the different time dimensions, difficulty to reassure both ends on the fact that this investment will still be valid for both in 10, 20 years' time, and that local dimension is really a challenge for policy. We are looking at the permitting frameworks in many member states. We know that the dedicated permitting framework might not be there at the moment. We are running a study on thermal storage, which will look at these challenges, barriers, best practice. But as I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation, we're also currently running a public consultation. The first phase of it, the so-called call for evidence, will close already this week, I think on Wednesday. The full questionnaire is closing mid-November, and through that consultation, we are hoping to really refine our understanding of the challenges, of the barriers, and of the good practice that exists in our member states, but also beyond, of course. So my plea to all of you would be to share with us what you consider could be relevant in the EU context to support that ongoing work on policy development, both from the point of view of the decarbonization of the heating and cooling system and of improving the efficiency of that transition to a more electrified energy system, providing flexibility and reducing costs, because this is really the right moment where we will be able to use it. Thanks a lot.